don't know why I decided to dress like a vampire today, but like it's just kind of happened. Like, hello, this is a bit of a spontaneous video because I didn't know what to film and I wanted to film something, and I thought, since I'm still quite new to the fantasy genre, the adult fantasy genre in particular, I wanted to kind of talk about a couple of the books that I'm really excited about and the ones that I'm like kind of, I guess, prioritizing, except not really, I don't know. We've been through this. I can't stick to a TBR or like make myself read things. I just, when the time comes, the time comes. But yeah, I do kind of have a list as long as my arm of fantasy books that I really want to get to. So this will probably be one of probably a few types of videos like this I'll end up doing down the line, because every single day I'm on the internet I end up adding something else to my list, and there's always something else I want to read. So this is by no means an exhaustive list because I would be here all day. So this is just a selection of some of the ones that I'm really excited to read. I've also not included kind of series that I've already started and I'm excited to finish. Also, all of these are authors I've never read. So they're authors I've never read, they're books I've never read, but I'm excited about all of them. So, but also, disclaimer, I don't know, I'm not going to be able to like, I always feel awkward in videos that are like a TBR or talking about books I haven't yet read because I don't really know what they're about. So it's just me kind of listing off books and not really talking much about them. So I do apologise because it'll be a lot of, I don't know what happens in this book, but that's just how it goes. Okay, so the first one, we'll start with a bang, we'll get the big one out of the way first, and that is the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. This is a massive series, it's like 14 books or something absurd like that. One of the most kind of popular fantasy series, and obviously the last couple of books were written by Brandon Sanderson, or kind of, because I think Robert Jordan passed away and Brandon Sanderson finished it. And I know Brandon Sanderson is quite inspired by this series, so I feel like because I love Sanderson's books so much, I feel like this is kind of an insight into what inspired him. And obviously it's really popular, it's really famous, it's really, you know, successful. So I feel like I need to read it. Also, there's the Amazon Prime series that's going to be coming out at some point, which looks really good. There's been like no real trailers yet, but the budget is quite high, I think. It has Rosamund Pike as the main character, who I love, and I just signed me up for that. So I'm really excited for this. Also, yeah, so like I know Alex has read them all, so I don't even need to buy the book. I can just use his, which, you know, bonus. But yeah, I don't really know too much about it. And I feel like because it's such a big series, until I read it, I'm not really gonna know because there are so bloody many of them. But yeah, so I would like to start that actually fairly soon. I bought the Eye of the World a couple of weeks ago. It was on sale, so I bought the first book myself, and so I kind of have no excuse but to start it now. So I'm actually kind of excited about it. Alex told me that maybe the first book, it's one of those things where it's like, obviously as it goes on it'll probably get better. So like, even if I don't really enjoy the first book, I think I do want to stick to it, and I feel like that would just be an accomplishment, you know, as daft as that sounds. I feel like if I can make myself read a series that big, that's an accomplishment. So I'm hoping to do that. So next up is a standalone fantasy, and that is The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. I'm really excited about this one. Mainly, well, I mean, there's a few reasons. First of all, it's a standalone. I quite like a standalone because a big thing with fantasy that I'm finding is there are so many series I want to read, but, you know, the books tend to not be very small. Sometimes there's, you know, quite a few books, and it's a commitment to try and start, and then I don't want to have like a bunch of series on the go at the same time. So a standalone is very appealing to me. And this one, I don't really know too much about the plot, to be honest with you, and the synopsis is long. But if I'm being completely honest, the main reason I want to read this is because every single person I've seen read this has had some kind of emotional meltdown by the end, which I'm always down for. Just like ruin my emotions, just to take me somewhere, you know, make me feel things, make me cry. I always say this, like, I'm such a sensitive person and I get very attached to characters, and there's just nothing better than reading something and feeling such a wave of emotion. And that's what I'm really kind of hinging on this doing for me, because I've seen a lot of people be devastated by this book. So, immediately, it is on my radar. So I'm hoping to get to that pretty soon. I think it's also part of my, at the start of the year, I posted on Twitter asking for 12 book recommendations, and this is actually on that list, so I will be reading that this year, along with another one, which maybe I'll get to next, but yeah, I'm really excited about this. I'm just always down to just be hurt, you know? So the next one is also on my 12 recommendations from Twitter, and that is Jade City by Fonda Lee, which is the first book in the Greenbone saga. This book is everywhere, all the time. I see it everywhere, everyone loves it, and I haven't read it yet, and I'm really excited to, because, I mean, it's like incredibly hyped, and I think the third book comes out fairly soon. I have the first book, and I'm very excited about it. Again, don't know too much about it, I just know it involves Jade, obviously, which I presume is to do with magic in the world, and I'm really excited. Yeah, I don't know, I feel like I've also seen people talk about Fonda Lee and her, she's not shy to make you feel things, which is bonus points. It's always bonus points. I just want to be hurt. It's the top and bottom of it. I just want to be hurt. I want to be in pain. It just, I don't know why I do it to myself. I think there's some kind of deep self-sabotage, self-hatred going on somewhere that I'm not going to get into. But either way, if a book can make me feel emotions, chuck it on the list. Then I would like to read Malice by John Gwynne, which is the first book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. I've never read a John Gwynne book. I feel like I don't necessarily see this series talked about a lot, but I see it on a lot of people's shelves, and I know some people who have read this and really enjoyed it, so I'm actually really excited. I think he also has a new book coming out that I've seen everywhere, with a dragon on the cover, The Shadow of the Gods, question mark, I think. I don't know, but people are very excited about that, so clearly people like his books. So I think this could be a good one. It looks more, I mean, this is literally just going off the cover with like the sword and everything on it. Looks more kind of epic fantasy, which I'm actually learning that I do really enjoy. I didn't think that was my thing up until, you know, the last couple of months, where I've been like, wait, no, I'm kind of into this. So I think I'm quite excited about this, to be honest with you. And like I said, people seem to really love his books and are very excited for his newest book. So yeah, I mean, the first book has a 4.14 average on Goodreads, so I'm really excited about this to see how I find it. Then we have The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. Again, never read an N.K. Jemisin book. I really bloody want to. I feel like I see her books talked about all the time, and I'm really excited. I'm definitely going to start her books probably with this series, because I also own the 5th season, but that book kind of scares me. I don't know why. That series seems it seems more like advanced kind of fantasy rather than beginner / intermediate. It seems quite a lot, and I always see people who are a bit like confused when they start it. They all say it's amazing by the end of it, but I think that's going to be one I get to later down the line. I don't think it's where I'm going to jump in because it seems a little intense for me. So The 100,000 Kingdoms is the first book in the Inheritance trilogy, and I added this to my list going back mid last year maybe, because I think I saw somebody on my Twitter was reading it, and I think there's a romance in this, which is always a plus for me. I don't need it, but if it's there I will take it. And I remember seeing some kind of screenshots of some of the romancy bits and being like, ooh, yes, I quite like this. So I'm excited about that. The synopsis is really short on Goodreads, so it says, oh god, here we go. I don't know if I'm saying this right, but Yane Dar is an outcast from the barbarian north, but when her mother dies under mysterious circumstances, she is summoned to the majestic city of Sky. There, to her shock, Yane is named an heiress to the king, but the throne of the 100,000 Kingdoms is not easily won, and Yane is thrust into a vicious power struggle. So, sounds great. I'm down for this. And again, I see the books talked about all the time, I see this book talked about all the time, so I have no doubts that I will really love this. Next we have The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. I added this to my list a while back because I think Katie read this for either a live show or like a readathon or something, and I had no interest in this before. I didn't really know anything about it, but I will say the cover, when like back last year I remember seeing it, and every time I saw it I felt like it looked like a Brandon Sanderson book just because of the UK covers of the Sanderson books are kind of black and white with like a little pop of colour, and this kind of has the same thing going on. But yeah, I don't know, I just never really caught my eye. But I think this has kind of a magic school thing which I'm learning I quite like. I've read a couple now in the last month that have been like magic school books, and I've really enjoyed them, and I think I'm into that. I don't want to go overboard with it though, because I feel like it could get boring pretty quickly. But I remember her saying that she really enjoyed this. I think this is part of a trilogy. Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I just remember Katie saying she liked it, and what Katie likes, I add to my list. So, which actually, coincidentally, takes us to the next one, which is The Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons? I don't know. Ruin of Kings. I know Katie loves this book. Again, I know nothing about it. It has a dragon on the cover, so I presume there are dragons involved, but I could be very wrong in that. I don't know much about this, but again, I bought it. It was on sale, so I bought it, so I have it. And I'm excited. I'm excited about this. She's really hyped it up. I've seen her talking about it a few times. I think there's a new book coming out soonish. I think there is a polyamorous relationship in this. I could be completely off on that, but I seem to remember there being mention of that. But again, I could be wrong. So, look that up. It's also a reminder to myself to look that up. But yeah, I don't know. I know nothing about this. I just presume the dragons involved. I don't think I've read a dragon book before. That's like fantasy, you know? As daft as that sounds, I know. I like categorise different fantasies as like different subgenres in my head, and dragon fantasy is not one I've read before, so it'll be interesting. Then we have one that I have added to my list solely from my Twitter timeline, which has been filled recently with people reading The Traitor Baru Cormorant by Seth Dickinson. I'd literally never heard of this book before, and it came out in 2015. I'd literally never heard of this before, and suddenly everyone on my timeline's reading it. Everyone's crying, everyone's screaming, and I'm like, okay, I'll add it to my list. Again, I know nothing about it. I just presume Baru Cormorant is a traitor. I don't know. Again, I see people crying. I'll add it to my list. It's a common theme. I like to cry. I like to vent my emotions in the form of books. So, people are crying, people are screaming. Therefore, I will read it at some point, I'm sure. I know absolutely nothing about this. So, that'll be fun. In case you haven't noticed, I tend to go into books as blind as possible, which I'm finding I particularly enjoy with fantasy books because it is like a whole new world. Yeah, whatever. I like to learn everything fresh without really much of a preconception. I find that it works better for me that way rather than me knowing what to expect. I don't know. But yeah, so the Traitor by Cormorant is on my radar. Then we come to the last two books, which are both sapphic books, one of which is not out yet, but I'm very excited for. So first is The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke, which came out not so long ago, which I believe is a North African inspired fantasy with a sapphic main character with big arms. That's all I know. People always talk about her arms. So, you know, just there's that. Yeah, I again don't know much about this, but I'm very interested in the North African inspired element of it because I don't think I've ever read a fantasy that's based in African mythology and folklore, so I'm really excited about that. Finally, for this list is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri, which I believe comes out in May, I think. This, again, sapphic and I believe Indian inspired in the fantasy, so very excited about that. I think I remember seeing the author mention that this is a revenge story. I am so down to read a revenge plot, to be honest with you. I'm kind of into that, and I don't think I've really read one in a while, if ever, so I'm really excited about that. And yeah, it just sounds great. It sounds right up my street. I remember adding this to my list, I think, again last year, because I think Alex was on Reddit and somebody had posted this on like a fantasy subreddit or something like that, and he was like, I think you would like this. And I was like, you know what, I think you're right, so I added it to my list. And I'm really excited about it. I don't know, it just kind of seems like all the vibes I want of like revenge, morally grey kind of main character, and just, oh, I don't know, it just seems like it could be a really good book and a favourite potentially. I'm genuinely so excited about it. So that is my condensed list of fantasies that I'm really excited about. This is, again, by no means exhaustive, and I just know I'm going to turn this camera off and immediately go, oh my god, I forgot this, oh my god, I forgot this. But, you know, whatever, I'll come back and do another one at some point, I'd imagine. So if you've read any of these and you would recommend any of these, please do let me know which ones to prioritise, which ones I absolutely need to read. I'm just really excited for all of them, and I'm just having the best time exploring fantasy as a genre, and you know, it's a big world to kind of navigate, and I'm still very new, so I'm learning what I like, and I'm just trying to try a little bit of everything, you know? So yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, let me know any recommendations, and I will see you next time. Bye!